Does a clump of cells have a beating heart?
Well, I'm not a scientist, so honestly, what I will say.
You can Google it.
Yeah. Okay. So everything on the internet.
Wait, wait. Okay, this is when you should be asking, does a clump of cells have a beating heart? And they can say like, okay, it has a heartbeat. Who gives a shit? As somebody who is pro-choice and also anti-abortion, I'm much more favorable towards adoption, but it's not really my call. It's not my pregnancy. Let's go take a look. Let's go watch some college liberal get owned.
Great questions, by the way. Great job.
So I came here to kind of hear your side. I mean, it was not a full like, yay, I'm excited to hear someone try to take away my rights as a woman, but it was more like I wanted to hear what you had to say, and I agree with one thing I can name, which is like increasing parent paternity leave or whatever. So, or maternity or whatever it is. And so one thing I want to say to the audience is
maternity is the leave that men take. Paternity is the leave that women take. Oh wait, no, is that the opposite? That's the opposite. I'm stupid. Maternity leave is the leave women take. Paternity leave is the one that men take. Don't listen to me. I'm stupid. Actually, no. Listen to me and subscribe and follow.
If I came here with no knowledge on abortion, you would have convinced me because of all your fear tactics and all of your like, let's bring out the gore. Let's talk about like killing babies with a culture. Oh, it was gory though. So what I wanted to say though was, I encourage everyone in this audience to actually realize like what it means to have bodily autonomy, to be pro-choice, which is not pro-abortion. It's pro-choose. No, yeah, I'm getting that. It's pro-choosing the right to have an abortion if you feel that's necessary. So I want to ask the question, what makes you qualified to tell everyone here that abortion is so bad and it should be illegal when in reality, are you a scientist? Are you an OBGYN? Do you have any kind of degree that makes it so like we should be listening to you because you're, oh my gosh, you're this figure that is so correct on all these issues. Like I want to hear what you have to say about like your background that makes this. Yeah.
Well, it's actually simple.
So I like this. I like this off the bat because if you know who Kristen Hawkins is, she is not a scientist. She is not she's not a biologist. She's not an OBGYN. She's not any of this. If I remember correctly, and let's, I don't think I need to, well, no, let's confirm here so I can make sure. Yep. Grassroots. Yep. Public speaking, organized. Yeah. She's let's see. Come on. Hit me with it. Christian wife. Who cares? Mother. Who cares? Grassroots activist. Who cares? Author, speaker, podcast host, human rights advocate. So basically she has no scientific or even philosophical background on this topic. It's just she just has an opinion, which is fine. I am not a scholar. I'm not any of these things, but I'm also arguing for people to talk with a doctor and make their own decision. She is coming at this from I've made the decision for you. You're going to carry this pregnancy to term. That's how it is. It starts and stops at that. Without having any background in any of this, which should tell you a little bit about the way she approaches that, but let's see how honest she is about that. But I do like this because nobody in this crowd who might be in favor of Kristen here it can argue, oh well, yeah, she's not a doctor, yeah, she's not an OBGYN, yeah, she really just went to school for public speaking and marketing and stuff like that, so she's in this to make money. Might have something to do with the might be grifting, but we're not sure quite yet. But either way, good question. What gives you the right to make that decision for people based on your own beliefs, which she's not going to have an answer to, I predict. It's mostly going to be, well, this is my opinion, and I think my opinion's more right than yours, which is still not really a explanation of why you should be determining the rights for people. But anyway, let's see her answer.
Because abortion is a black and white issue. You don't have to be an OBGYN. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be a scientist to read biology books and to Google when human life begins and to know innately that all human life is really valuable. And when you start to disregard certain human beings because they're inconvenient to you, or you see them as your property, disastrous results we've seen throughout human history.
Though, as a counter to that, I wanted to say I noticed a lot of your sources you seem to Google, so that kind of goes into my topic of like what makes you qualified to talk about this if you Googled it.
I say
like, everything on the news is accurate.
All of my sources.
Let me be clear also. Citing sources, getting your information from Google and finding sources for your arguments is not inherently bad. Not all of us can be science, scholarly, scientific people on every topic. But there is a certain amount of, what's the word I'm looking for? Professional, and I think, what's the word I'm looking for? Deference one should be paying to the actual people doing the studies, studying any of this stuff, coming to understandings, and understand also a part of this. Also keep in mind is abortion is not the science of abortions is rather clear and pretty concrete at this point. We don't have a lot of gray zones the way we used to when it comes to abortion. What we are discussing these days are the rights to technology that is making people's lives better and easier and more amenable to their liking. It's the same with it's kind of the same with the trans issue, right? If you are 25, if you're an adult, you understand why conservatives, Matt Walsh, all the like, focus on minors as trans kids, because there are barriers that we put in front of minors when it comes to participating fully in their own autonomy, right? Whereas if you're an adult, if you want, and I think, and I said this to somebody recently in the comments on the YouTube video, which is a channel you should totally subscribe to. I said this recently, where if you're an adult, I don't care if you're trans, if you're not trans, if you're non-binary, I don't care what the fuck you are. If you want a vagina made out of your dick and you're an adult, you have all the fucking right to do so. You shouldn't need a diagnosis. You shouldn't need a permission from the state. You're an adult. You get to do what you want. Plain and simple. If you would like to, if you want to get a nose job, you don't have to ask for permission for a nose job. If you want to get a boob job, you shouldn't have to ask for permission or anything. These things are cosmetic. And if you want to change how you look cosmetically, I think that you don't need to answer for any of this. You don't need a diagnosis. You need any of this stuff. As an adult, you get to say how your body gets changed or whatever. That's your choice. We've decided that in a society, you get that choice. And I think that's pretty much the same when it comes to abortion. And how we decide these things aren't always based on science, but we have to be honest about the science so that we can have an honest conversation about the rights and how we distribute those rights. And the problem that a lot of people have with a lot of abortion activists is they play very fast and loose with the science half of it to underpin and to reinforce their social argument, when the science has almost never backed up any of their arguments on the social side. These are two very different conversations, I think. The science is settled on abortion. Now the question becomes, how do we, now that this exists, how do we distribute this to people?
Are Googleable, because you don't trust what I have to say. So when I talk about, that's Huffington Post, go to Huffington Post. Google who has better sex. Married people who are religious. If you want to know the medical studies,
who cares? No, seriously, who cares? What does that have to do with A, abortion? What does that have to do with B, freedom? If you tell me, if someone came up to you and said, you're going to be Christian now, you're going to church every Sunday, your sex is going to be better, thank me later. That's not how this works. That's not how this works at all.
What I cited, go to pubnet.gov. They're there. If you want to know what a fetus is, go to Google. Because
also, you're telling me that married couples have better sex than just people who fuck random people on the weekends? Whoa. Fucking shocker there.
Dictionary.com pops right up and tells you a fetus is a human being and a member of our species. But it's actually very simple in the pro-life movement. Because what is abortion? What does it do? What does abortion do, ma'am?
It allows women to have the right to choose to move on with their lives and not have to
What happens during an abortion?
Have a baby.
What happens during an abortion?
A clump of cells is taken out of the woman's body.
Does a clump of cells have a beating heart?
Well, I'm not a scientist, so honestly, what I will say...
You can Google it!
Yeah, okay, so everything on the internet...
Wait. Okay, this is when you should be asking, does a clump of cells have a beating heart? Because a heart, understand, a heart is an organ. Meaning you have to have a lot more than a clump of cells. You know what a clump of cells is? Actually, no, these aren't cells. If I scratch your arm, those are clumps of cells. You have cells on your arm. All over, all of this is just random cells. Not random necessarily, but that having a heartbeat a heart is an organ. And they can say okay, it has a heartbeat. Who gives a shit? Do you know what a heart is? It's a fucking muscle. The heart is a muscle that pumps blood throughout a living organism system. So what? People live without functional hearts. There are ways that we can get around that. There are humans right now who don't have functional hearts, who have mechanical the versions of those essentially. So what, are those not human now? Is a heart the thing that distinguishes a human? No. The animals have hearts. It's just an organ. It's an organ that pumps blood. What does that have to do with anything? But you see, for her, as she does her cackling Gruntilda laugh, the argument for her is if you have a heart, you have a soul. But souls aren't real, man. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. We also don't base our society based on souls. It's just not a thing. We don't say you killed a person's soul. We say you just killed a person. You ceased their life.
Internet is correct. I'm confused as to... This is sarcasm, by the way.
Ask any abortionist. Ask any abortionist.
Okay.
Ask any abortionist if the fetus they dismembered or they sucked out of existence or they induced a heart attack had a beating heart. They will tell you yes.
Okay, but did they have a conscience? Did they have a mental...
Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? So this is the problem. Okay. So this is the thing. You are having an argument on her ground because you're not having her explain at what point are you referring to. I think I brought this chart up last time. Let's see. What is it? What did I type in? I think it was the fetal development chart. All right, cool. This is way too small. God damn it. Now I have to do that again. What if we just do fetal development and not do chart? Can I just get a picture? Thank you. Oh, this is the one that I had last time. Ah, lovely. I love it. This one was really good. All right. So let's remember, she is talking about a heart, right? Let's go back really quick.
Confused as to... This is...
Because want to know what a fetus is? Go to Google because dictionary.com pops right up and tells you a fetus is a human being and a member of our species. But it's actually very
Everything
simple
is
in the
good.
pro-life movement.
It's always great down
what
here.
What is abortion? What does it do? What does abortion do, ma'am?
Also, how'd you know I was short?
To have the right to choose to move on with their lives and not have
Did
to...
you just get that energy from me?
What happens during an abortion?
A clump of cells is taken out of the woman's body.
So, a clump of cells. You want to know what she's referring to? This entire top row and this first one down here on the bottom left, right? That's what homegirl on the steps is referring to. She's referring to this little batch here. And what Kristen Hawkins is trying to reframe the argument for is everything over 40 weeks. Or past, I guess this would be maybe 10. I don't remember at what point the heart actually develops. I believe it's probably around 10. But either way, my point being, I don't know, the only thing I dislike about this chart is that it's kind of out of order, which is really weird. Is it supposed to be, yeah, what 5 weeks? Why is it from 5, 40, 20, 10? Why not do 5, 10? So weird. Such a weird chart. Okay, we go. Look out for our short people. I respect it. Short kings. Anyway. But yeah, like, all right, you have, yeah.
My point, cells have a beating heart?
Well, I'm not a scientist.
Do any of these have beating hearts?
Google
Do
it.
these have beating hearts?
So everything on the internet is correct. I'm confused as to, this is sarcasm, by the way.
Ask any abortionist. Ask any abortionist.
Okay.
Ask any abortionist.
Ask any of them.
They dismembered, or they sucked out of existence, or they induced a heart attack, had a beat.
How do you dismember something? Most women don't know they're pregnant until usually around the, like 6-week stage? So most women are like somewhere in between this alien looking thing on the far left and this other kind of cuter looking alien thing over here. And in between these two, somehow women are, that's like dismemberment. And again, keep in mind, she uses dismemberment because it's a loaded term and because you're supposed to think of like a Saw movie or the Hostel movies. But this isn't an honest representation. Talk to any abortionist and they're going to tell you, I don't know, it kind of varies. It depends on when the woman comes in. I've done abortions on babies that are almost fully developed, but they would have killed the mother. So it's kind of a spectrum.
Beating heart. They will tell you, yes.
Okay, but did they have a conscience? Did they have a brain that was fully formed and could make decisions?
So your position on abortion then is you're okay with abortion because of conscience. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm okay with abortion because women have the right to choose whether or not they want to have a baby.
So also we're getting away from the topic, which was, keep in mind, the initial question is what in your background gives you the right? What gives Kristen Hawkins the right? What background does she have of knowledge that makes her an authority on, and let's be honest about this, human rights? She can have whatever opinion she wants on biology, development, all of the rest of these things. But what gives her the right from a moral standpoint to determine the decisions that other people make? Every single day, we tell people, every time you stop at a red light, somebody made the moral decision that we are not all just going to drive everywhere all at once without structures to keep us organized. Somebody infringed on your right to travel somewhere as fast as you want to by way of a red light, right? And we've understood that society is just a little bit better if we all drove around in these dangerous ass cars in an organized and communicable fashion to everybody, right? And with abortion, again, regardless of what you think of the procedure, if you think it's dismemberment, whatever it is at the end of the day a procedure, a medical procedure that we have developed. Now the question becomes, do we let people use that technology? Is that something that we allow for? And what are the benefits of that? And what are the negatives of that decision? The benefits of allowing for abortion is that women now have agency over their body that men traditionally only had. Women now have an ability to not have their life stopped at the change of becoming pregnant and now having a child. That is now something that we can stop early on in the process, cause minimal damage to the mothers. The actual child isn't developed into a individual adult yet. They are still dependent on the mother for all processes. So the question then becomes, all right, like if that's the positive, what's the alternative to then taking that away? And it would be that women go back to not having an ability to make that decision on where they want their lives to go. And this is when people say like you're taking people's rights away, and some people go, oh well, you don't have the right. Whoa. Women have had that right, and you are removing it. There is no reframing of that. It was a right, it's now not a right. So also keep that in mind. Life stop with all respect. What did you have to do? What did you have to do that was so much more important than growing up and raising a kid? Well, the process of child raising is so okay. So do you want to know the actual problem? I don't even need to address that part. Do you want to know the problem with that assertion? It's simply that there isn't anything more important to other people than raising children. It is a mindset that people are on this earth and the purpose of individuals are to procreate. Now, you have all the right in the world to believe that. I believe that you have the right to think that the most important thing you could ever do in your life is have and raise children. I got no problem with that. My issue is when that is the only, and that is the frame that we take in a legal sense, that we forward in a legal sense to in our society. That's the problem I have with that. What is more important that you could not do after raising a child? That would be my question. Okay, can I ask you something, Miniature Blaze? Do you have children? Are you a parent by any chance? I plan to. I cannot biologically, no, but we plan to adopt. Okay, so I appreciate that. I'm a child of adoption. I'm very pro-adoption. So when you go through that process, first of all, the adoption process, I'm going to warn you ahead of time. Not a, what's the word? Not as easy of a process as one might think it is, and the adoption process can be rather ornery. But regardless of all of that, having and raising children, you will notice, talk to any parents, if you know any parents, talk to any of them. You're going to notice a distinct difference in the life that you're now going to be able to live. You're not going to get to go out. You're not going to get to sleep fully through the night. Say goodbye to any extra income you might have. That's now going to have to go to that child. Now, keep in mind also, income is very tight for a lot of people because of late-stage capitalism and the stagnant wages that we live with. But regardless of all of that, that is now an extra mouth to feed. It is like when you try to make the decision, if you want a dog, right? You like having pets, you want to have a dog. There's an obvious investment of, okay, I want to have a dog. Well, we got to pay for the dog. There's the upfront costs of adopting a dog from a shelter, from anywhere else. Then you have to worry about the healthcare of that dog. Then you have to worry about the food of that dog, where they go, where they sleep, where they eat, where they shit, where they do everything else. Then if they get sick, you have to cover those expenses. These are all things that encompass having children and are even more intense with children. Talk to any parent. There are any number of things they now cannot do, some of them being professional, some of them being recreational, that are just not attainable and not performable as adults, or as parents, I should say. Sorry. It's a completely different way of living. It's kind of the same, maybe not a one-to-one, but if you've ever been dating somebody, and then the difference between dating somebody for a long period of time and marrying them, and the two differences that those in lie. When you're dating somebody, you are two individuals living together. You have your own, bank accounts, you have your own this, you have your own that. But when you're married, you become, and this is legally, in legal terms, and also I think from more of a social standpoint, you become one entity. You are now they can make decisions on your healthcare. You can make decisions on theirs. There's a lot that you file your taxes together. There's a lot of things. You are a different state of being when you get married. And the same goes for when you have children. Your life changes in so many different ways. And the problem is that some people are, like you, might be, they want that change. That's the change that they want in their life. But others don't. Some people either want to be more ready, which most parents will tell you you're never ready, but a lot of people would like to have more stable careers, more money coming in, so that they can offer those children actual meaningful benefits to being their children, basically. You want to have a good job, you want to have a nice house, you want to build up all this infrastructure, so when you have kids, you're like, I can give them a good life, right? But a lot of people, you know, either they can't get abortions, or, you know, maybe they live in a state where abortion is an option, maybe they just accidentally got pregnant, or, you know, any number of ways that this happens. And if they're not ready, the options are, if I bring this kid into this world right now, I can't offer them a better life. I just can't. I can't offer them better. They're not going to come into my life and be a part of it. They're going to join the fucking struggle with me. And a lot of people don't want that. You know, a lot of people don't want that. My parents, so I'm adopted, and my parents got separated when I was rather young. And something that weighed heavily on my mother was the idea that she could never provide me with the nuclear family. It caused her an immense amount of distress and anxiety and depression for that. And, you know, because of that, she would lash out. You know, we've gotten along now as I'm an adult, and we've had more adult conversations. But these are, people want the best for their kids, and having a kid before you're ready means you can't give them that. And sure, somebody like Kristen Hawkins might say, you know, that's not important, or, you know, oh, even a life of struggle is better. But honestly, think about this for yourself, for you personally. Do you want your kids to struggle? Do you want them to be hungry and destitute like you are? You know, if you're a college kid living on ramen, you don't want to have a kid. You don't want that kid living with you, living on ramen. It's just, and we need, and I'm pro-choice because I believe everybody knows what situation they're in. If they're ready, then they're ready. If they're not, then they're not. And as a pro-choice supporter, I believe we need to leave that to people to make that decision for them. And a one-size-fit-all, no, you're just going to have the baby, figure out adoption, do all the rest of this, is going to lead to more kids in the adoption system, and more people getting injured because they go to crazy means to actually get adoptions, or they have kids and those kids end up as a statistic in the starvation rate. So those are my big concerns. This is what I mean. I appreciate the follow, though. I do appreciate that. Let me actually respond to what you said. I know I went on a really long tangent. I mean, you never have enough money to have a child. There will be no stage in your life that I wish I had less money. And I said you kind of just have to have kids despite having money. And also, like, to back up to that, any parent will tell you it is worth it, but that is only in hindsight. And most of the time, that's very much a feels thing, you know? That's not something that I think is concrete. You know. Also, professional and recreational can both be done after a child, or is it likely not super important? I realize you can't, unless you like struggle during a child. But anyway, let's continue.
But do you agree that abortion kills a human being?
I don't agree that there's any kind of murder in the
Does it end the life of a human being?
It ends the life of cells. It does not end the life of yeah, okay, so you're a clump of cells that has been developed over time, but once you leave the vagina, then you're a conscious human.
So you're okay with abortion. So if I'm pregnant, I'm 9 months pregnant, my husband leaves me, I lose my job, and I say, I can't have this baby right now. You're okay at 9 months before the baby leaves my vagina, the abortionist goes in, induces a heart attack, and kills that baby.
It's too bad we didn't have laws that were against that. See, this is why I really hate people like this, and I hate this woman with a deep venom, because she's just lying. Roe v. Wade and the laws that we've passed since its decision all ensured that late stage abortion was the only exception to that was generally the health of the mother, or if there were defects that would have resulted in negative outcomes for the child. Essentially saying we're not going to let kids come into the world if they're all, you know, malformed and whatnot, if we don't have to. First of all, that's also an awful decision that parents have to make. But B, if it's going to lead to the death of the mother, then that's those parents' decision to either try again, you know, hopefully this time without that danger, or risk the mother's life. And then that kid grows up with only one parent and probably the guilt of killing their parents through their birth. So, but she's being dishonest because nobody's arguing for this. Nobody on the pro-choice side argues for 9-month abortion just because you feel like it. It's not a thing that's ever been enshrined in law. It's not a thing that pro-choice advocates advocate for. It's just bunk. It's made up. It's not real. She's arguing against not even a fucking straw man. She's arguing against a wax paper man. There's nothing there. There's absolutely nothing. It's see-through. You know, it's not real. Nobody's arguing for this. But it's the only way her argument holds up is if it's against an extreme. Because, quite frankly, she's an extremist.
Nothing
personally, I cannot speak to every pro-choice person, but personally, 9 months is
no,
However,
pro-choice.
Why is abortion to you wrong at 9 months? Why are you personally against abortion at 9 months?
The fetus is about to come out of the vagina, and it's going to become an actual human.
Because there's a significant amount of development.
Almost.
Okay, first of all, we know a child is fully formed way before 9 months because have you ever seen a child who's born premature at 25 weeks? They're not malformed, right?
Sometimes they are. Sometimes they have like missing limbs.
Well, that's genetic. Yeah. But you know, like when I had the ultrasound of my child, my 4D ultrasound of my daughter, I wanted to get pictures of what she looked like at 25 weeks. She was fully formed inside of my womb. She didn't just like suddenly.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, 25 weeks, I believe it's 25 or 26 weeks, is the cutoff for just abortion. There has to be an extenuating circumstance after that point to be able to be allowed to perform an abortion.
There's not a magical thing in the birth canal. You're like, oh, now as a human being. That's location. Your humanity can't depend on your location. 2 inches of the birth canal doesn't change you don't magically become a human being because you pass through a woman's birth canal. Because guess what? 2 of my kids never passed through my birth canal. I delivered C-section. Were they not human beings? Next question.
Oh yeah, this is also why you should probably I've seen other people talk about this. You also should really not participate in these unless you're going to be, at least in my opinion, unless you've like studied this person talking, you know their arguments, and you are doggedly aggressive. Because there's a reason why she told her to move on next question, because every follow-up is another thing that she's gonna have to explain, and she's not gonna be that capable of it. I want to watch a CNN interview, I guess she did, because I want to see if a journalist on CNN, who I don't have the deepest respect for journalists on CNN, or the thing that they tell, like at the end of all YouTube videos where they tell you to like click on one of these like things to watch more videos. Yeah, I've been meaning to film one of those. So that's what I was doing. I was just setting it up to film one.